Hello, I'm John Ryan.
And I'm JD Orr, and this is the Hueter Goes Ham USA Handball podcast.
All right. Well, we're going to turn into transfer talk. Uh, who's the big guy in the U.S.? I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
Oh, Adam Schefter,
Adam Schefter.
the
There's a
Rasmus
couple other
Boyson.
guys
That's
too.
what we're taking his thunder here.
Well, I tagged him, but uh, I don't think it's significant enough anymore. And maybe he's moved on to more of a broader uh, handball entity, influencer, if you will.
Yep,
But
yep,
yeah, let's talk about the big news here. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen.
yeah. So while John pulls that up, Ian Hueter, captain the U.S. men's national team for the last few years, has spent the entirety of, correct me if I'm wrong, the entirety of his playing career at TSV Dormagen,
He
Bear
played with somebody
Dormagen.
else prior to the age of 10.
Okay. So almost his entire handball career, he and his brother Patrick. So
Yeah. So he's moving to another second division HBL2 club um, that is currently in third place, ASV Hamm-Westfalen. Um, they were actually in the Bundesliga either the previous year or the year before, and they fell back down. Um, they have a. Have you ever heard of the term elevator clubs?
no, but I can get the gist of they're right on that, bottom of one and top of the other kind of
They go up, they
spot.
go down. They go up, they go down. And there's most of the leagues have a few clubs like that they're right on the cusp. You know, they they struggle to compete in the first division, but they go back down to the second division and they're once again competitive to go right back up. So they kind of have one foot in both uh, both leagues, if you will.
Yeah, I think it's a definitely a good show of how the relegation system really puts the right teams in the right spot because you know it's definitely tough for this kind of club to be it's definitely a monetary adjustment obviously between jumping between leagues, but I think it definitely shows you like what you're no there's no hiding what you are. So
Yeah, it makes it real challenging. I mean, we don't want to go into a whole promotion
yeah,
relegation versus franchise model issue. Maybe for another episode, but
yeah,
um, it makes it really challenging for those clubs because a lot of times they they may have to upgrade their rosters or downgrade their rosters because they don't have enough money anymore. Um, I'm not Ian's agent, but I sure hope there was some discussion of where he fit in with the team, whether they went up or they went down. Sounds like there is based on his comments.
well, that's definitely good, and that's what we want from our American players to continue to, you know, get into better systems, get into, bigger name clubs, get more notoriety. So I think overall, pretty good fit.
Yeah, they. I sent a message to a handball world guy that I communicate with regularly. I said, "Oh, where would he fit in the pecking order on the center backs for that team?" And he felt pretty comfortable that he would fit right in and get some good playing time with their current roster that they have. So, and I messaged Ian. I said like, even if you go down, you're in a club that's ambitious.
Yeah.
Um, so you know, I interviewed both him and Patrick a few years ago, and I don't know him real well. I've talked to him a few times, but sometimes you get the sense, that and he says there it wasn't an easy decision. It's like a family to me.
Yeah.
Um, and that's a great environment, but sometimes, in order to grow, you have to spread your
Spread
wings.
the
And
wings. Yep.
this is a good opportunity. Different environment, different challenges, different working with different players. Even if he's playing in the same league, it's going to be a new experience for him. One that I think a good chance of helping him out. And if he goes up to the first division, even
Yeah.
all the better.
Exactly.
He played.
When was the last American to be in the first league?
And I don't think. Well, oh yeah,
I think
Domago
there's one guy. Oh,
Domagoy
I wasn't
Surson.
even yep. I wasn't even
He
thinking
played for
Domagoj.
Hanover, and
Yep.
they were upper part of the table team. He played in the European League last season too. They went to the German Final Four while he was with them. So, but who would be the other?
And that's where, yeah, based on your reaction, I might have some misinformation. I was under the impression there was a goalkeeper that early 2000s, maybe late 90s. I don't know his name. Um, that he was in the first league.
Not that I'm aware of. I mean,
Okay.
Kessler would have been like late '80s, early '90s. That would have been before my
Yeah.
time. So that's a possibility. Um,
Did
but
Kessler play in Europe?
I don't know for sure. And if he did,
Okay.
I would have thought Germany. I mean,
Okay.
Spain. But I could be wrong.
I
And
thought
it was
I
before
thought it
my
was
time, before the internet,
okay.
that they wouldn't
Yeah.
have good
Any
publicity of it happening.
okay. I'll have to
So
go do some research. I could have sworn it was and I like a stateside guy, and so that's where it was just like one of those flew under the radar kind of stories. So um, I'll see what I can dig up.
nobody from my generation,
Okay,
like one of the '96 goalies played like in Switzerland. He was a Swiss U.S. citizen,
okay,
but um, I don't think he had played in the Bundesliga. And then, so anybody my age and younger,
yeah,
boy, they were really under the radar. They were playing in the
yep,
Bundesliga,
yeah,
and I didn't know
yeah.
about it.
So
Um,
okay, I don't want to get
that
too far
reminds
off
me.
tangent.
I'll go a little bit of a tangent. One of my favorite handball stories, I'll link to it, is there was a player named Kalman for Finland, and
Okay,
Finland, they're an average team, and we played them in a couple friendlies before the World Championships in '93, and I just had no idea how good this guy was. And after the match, they had we had like tape review, and
hmm
there's like this. I can still see Coach, showing it. I'm like on defense, and I'm crouched down because this guy's already beaten me a couple times,
yeah,
and I'm like ready to stop him, and I am just intensely ready. And he had just talked to his other teammates, and he said like, I don't know finish, but he said like, move to the side. This guy, he's too slow. He cannot keep up with me.
yep,
And he came right at me, and I'm like, he ain't getting by me this time. And he stopped, both feet, jumped straight up in the air, and threw a BB into the left hand corner. And and I was like, you know, ready for him to go by me, and I'm like
yeah.
slowly moving my
It's
arms
like,
up,
oh crap.
and and Coach Morris, he hits the pause button, and he goes, John, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, this guy is really good, and he goes,
It-
stop. He's the MVP of the Bundesliga. And my answer to that was, what is the Bundesliga?
oh boy, oh
I
boy.
mean, maybe I should have known a little bit, like Bunda and Bundeswehr. That's like the
Put it
German
to
military.
yeah, yeah.
I didn't even know Bundesliga was German back then. It was that far removed from me.
Yep. Yeah.
But
That's
after I said that, he just went like,
Yep.
he was just like, I can't believe this.
Can't
But
help this
hey,
guy.
it's one of my all-time favorite stories. I'm sorry I went on
No,
I
that's
got
good.
totally
We had
sidetracked.
a very similar one with those shoe kids going to meet Peter Bredstorff Larson. So, they didn't know who Mikkel Hansen was. And it's like, oh my gosh, guys, we're in Denmark. Get it together. So,
Well, that Mikkel Hansen, he was infamously called uh, the board member
yep.
at the meeting in Salt Lake. Is that Thor? Literally,
Yes.
I was like, oh my god.
Yep. Yep.
Anyway, um, oh,
Here's your interview there with the Hueter brothers. They got a nice tie to San Francisco. They head back there. I'd say almost every summer, or at least every other year. They come back and visit family and whatnot. So
yeah. So if you haven't listened to this podcast, I encourage people to, if they're curious anything, talk a little bit right here and there. I had it queued up, what it would be like for either of them to play in the first division and the pros and cons. So they were already thinking about it, um, you know, 3 years ago. So
yeah,
it's nice, and he hasn't, like I said, Ham has to get promoted. They're in a dogfight. So we'll see what happens. But I'm certainly rooting for them now to get one of those two spots to get promoted. Um, let's chat about another player who I'm told has U.S. connections.
yeah. Well, Alfie Johnson. So I sent this over to John earlier this or last week. Uh, Great little 9 meter set shot here from Alfred Johnson. Skjern, they were doing a little bit of a dig at the French by I think the comment was see how he didn't jump or something like that, and a winky face
That
and a
was Rasmus.
oh, that
I'm
was
pretty sure
Rasmus. Okay.
he works for Skjern.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So if it wasn't
Nice.
him doing it, it was him telling somebody
Somebody
to do
to
it.
okay,
I bet
nice.
you.
Yeah. So they put a Swedish flag, and I commented an American flag with him. So um, I've never talked to Alfred. I've obviously talked to Coach Hedin about him and whatnot, and he was on the World Championship roster for Sweden, I believe, or he was on the Euro roster, not this past Euros, the previous Euros with Sweden. But now he's on the outside looking in. So potentially another, backcourt player that could find his way into the squad.
Yeah. So I assume he has American citizenship, or it can be gotten. So there's a definite connection there. Um, he seems to have some possible interest. So with Sweden fairly well set now, 2028's on the horizon. Like I said, I don't know him from Adam, but if it was me, I would be thinking about that, or maybe I just want to focus on my club career. It's hard to say, but um, yeah, I guess Ian would move to right back.
Yeah.
I don't know. It'd be we could use another guy with a left-hander.
Yeah. That would be nice. That would be
Maybe,
nice.
yeah. I mean, maybe the Matthias Gitzel has like some relative or something with.
Got a great great grandparent.
Who
Oh
who
man.
knows? Who knows?
Yeah,
Um,
these guys come out of the woodwork, as we've talked about before, just, finding recruiting and, constantly just sifting through people because, we'll get emails from guys in random countries that say, hey, I'd like to play for Team USA. Well, if you don't have any proof, it doesn't really get you anywhere. I have to explain to them the process, and it's not something you just get overnight. But what is interesting is the lottery, and that's one thing I've been shocked that we haven't had any guys on the team that have been a part of that lottery system. The U.S. with a lot of countries has a citizenship lottery where I don't know if it's every year you can apply to be entered into it, but I've personally met several different individuals who have, won the lottery and then moved to the States. So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, chances are, if you're a fairly accomplished handball player in your native country, you're probably happy there.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. I mean, I know we're the shining light on the hill that people want to move to. I mean, you've got the athletes from Guinea that play for New York City now.
Yep.
Um, they I don't think they've won the lottery, so I think their future citizenship status is in question. But
Togba does have um a citizenship. He does have, or he's close to full
maybe he's on a
citizenship.
path towards it.
Yeah.
So
He's close enough to be I think in the conversation or something like that. Like I forget what it was, but I remember last time I had talked to Vinny or someone that, Togba was able to be a part of the junior team. At least I thought. So I don't know.
okay,
But that's a good lefty. It was
well,
definitely good here. So
have you have you watched any of Yoav Lombroso, Israeli center back?
I remember us. I've not watched him play, but
Somebody told me that he has an American connection. That guy's a baller. I
yeah,
watched Israel's qualification matches. Um, definite quality player. Um, so um, I I'm kind of rooting against Israel just in case
yeah,
somebody wants to like, oh well, this national team's not going anywhere. But
yeah, yeah,
who knows? It's always interesting to hear the different possibilities. We've got a good roster now.
yep.
Um, but if somebody has American citizenship and they want to wear the
Stars and
our
stripes.
colors and then stand for the national anthem, hey, I'm all for it.
Yep. So
Um,
we'll see who shows up. So
all right. Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about weekend tournaments.
yes, the tale as old as time here. The weekend warrior mentality for the U.S. handball system.
And
I'll be
your Ohio State Buckeyes are heading out for a weekend tournament this weekend, right?
Some of them. We got a mixed bag of guys heading down to Blue Cup, Blue Cup down at UNC. So
Mixed bag of guys. What's that? What's the deal with that?
uh, I just took a poll, see who could go, and it was mostly our second team and a handful of first team guys. So
Okay.
so they're gonna get a pretty tall order. I think they got West Point and Miami in their group play.
You
So
guys playing the first team from West Point or the second team?
I don't remember, and I can tell you it's not going to make a difference. I don't have a lot of confidence.
That's
I'm not
exactly the
going
type of
to.
attitude you shouldn't have as coach.
I'm pretty real with them. But they'll have a good time. So I'm not going down there. So they're on their own. So we'll see. We'll see how that
Well,
goes.
it's a
Yep.
ragtag
Yep.
group and a strong endorsement from their head coach. I understand you have other responsibilities.
Yep. So we'll
Shoot,
see.
maybe if I
Yeah, I
knew
gotta
about it, maybe I could have been like
stand
uh,
in coach.
stand-in coach.
Yep.
Um,
So yeah, it should be. I mean, obviously, Blue Cup's one of the oldest tournaments, in the country. And I'm saying not the national championship events, but between Blue Cup and Cal Cup, I'd say that, and Lipov and the West Point tournament are probably some of the longest standing domestic weekends. And typically, based on the locations I mentioned, they're not places where there's teams that can easily drive to. So you're either taking a Friday to drive down there, or you're flying out Thursday or Friday, which as a result, as an adult or a college student, you're skipping class, you're taking a day off work um, on Friday for sure, potentially some Thursday, and then you're playing a ton of games in a short amount of time and then getting back to the road or the plane or the air or whatever to get back. So
yeah, it's something. that I think has evolved over time. Like I think I was talking on another podcast, like typically it was just nationals where everybody would get together. And I know my experience in California is it was drivable between us and Northern California. Um, I think I went up to a tournament in Vancouver a couple times, um, but it was just it, there wasn't as much crisscrossing across the country. And
The
I
country,
think,
yeah.
I think West Point played in tournaments in Quebec and driving, and I think the New York teams drove there, and then West Point had their tournament. Um, but over time, it's evolved so that like everybody's kind of like they're staking a claim for their month to have a tournament, and there's only so many months in a year, and that's the whole other thing that I guess I'm a real old timer. I remember the season didn't really start till January. And then we got more Europeans coming in. And for people that aren't aware, Europeans have one season for sports, for everything. Every
Hmm.
sport is from September to May, June, or August to May, June. Every single sport plays at the same time. They don't have football season, basketball season, baseball season. It's it's year long. And that seems strange, but over time we've kind of adopted handball. So somewhere somebody said like, "Oh, we've got the our season runs like that," and maybe it should, maybe it shouldn't. What do you think?
I think on the it's two different tales because I think on the college side, from a recruitment standpoint, you absolutely have to have some form of competition in the fall because if you have your involvement fair and then you don't have a practice or some game, that recruitment event was essentially wasted. So I would lean heavy on the fall for college. Uh, Obviously, it also I think helps a little bit that that's still not crazy busy in the gym, so you can get a little bit more gym time. But the downside is it conflicts with football season, and so now you're trying to
Yeah, the
schedule around.
school.
Yeah. um, but I think from like the club side of things, you know, our Armada guys, we show up when we want to. So, I mean, I don't really care when the season is. We're just going to show up when we got enough people that want to play. So, if there's enough people that want to play all year round, we'll play all year round, but that's not a realistic thing. And I think
What
to your
about
point, you might get better attendance if it's like a set, time frame.
yeah? One of the things I've tossed around, I don't know if I've mentioned it to you before, is the idea of having the fall be kind of and I'm speaking now more in terms of collegiate clubs,
Hmm.
have the fall be kind of like an open play time frame where
Yeah.
colleges play adult clubs and um, it's more of like it's experimental time. You're playing, you're learning the game, but
Yeah.
then have a collegiate season starting in January to nationals in March. And I know some clubs would immediately balk at this because maybe we don't have the college clubs available. Maybe the competition is not level. Probably talking West Point for sure here, where you would strongly encourage college on college competition and creating more leagues like the Trailblazer where the colleges would play each other, and that would be the focus leading into the national championship. That's just an idea I've kind of thrown out there. I don't know um, um, whether people would climb on board of that or not, based on some of the issues I just made out.
I think definitely teams in my neck of the woods would not be I think to your point, West Point's probably the number, and UNC, I think would probably be the two teams that would be the most, upset with that kind of concept. But um, the other problem is just finding the right times in the spring because, you know, a lot of the schools are on such different schedules. We had, for instance, we wanted to have a match day late January. Miami, Ohio doesn't come back till the last week of January, first week of February because they have a December semester basically where they have a whole another class period in December and January. So then that throws off the spring break season. So all the spring breaks get staggered. So the month of March is completely off the table. You either have the first weekend of March, and then after that, you won't have any free weekends where all teams are free. You have a couple holiday weekends in there between MLK and President's Day where it's going to be tough to
Well, I
pry
mean,
people
that's
away
where you'd
from
have to get a
fun.
little creative in terms of the scheduling, where
Yeah,
you would have the teams that are going to school at the same time, play each other.
right.
Well, and that would take some organization
It's some,
to
yeah.
work out schedules for that, but it's something that could be doable. Um, uh, it would take some planning. It take an agreement to kind of do that. And the other part, it would probably we've kind of tried to do two things at the same time. We've tried to have the weekend tournaments and league play and kind of treat them equal. And I don't know how feasible that is if you're trying to do both.
Yep.
I don't know if we can tell people with doing weekend tournaments. Um, for some clubs, they've turned into a nice little moneymaker for them.
Hmm.
I don't know how much, because it's expensive to host a tournament, but I think some clubs do are able to pull in some much needed funds for their efforts.
We
Um,
definitely used it as a fundraiser in the past, but I told the kids there was more just laziness to not do real fundraising. So, we have volunteer referees, which is the cost, every time of the events. So if you don't have any referee costs, then the tournament essentially is put on for free because you get the facility for free. But I think one of the things that we try to do the last two seasons is utilize our annual weekend tournament as a means to also get some of the crossover. I don't want to say crossover, but matches with some of the other clubs that are a little bit further away since they would be staying the night. So, because otherwise we would just do day trips with Columbus kind of being in the middle. So, it allowed us to have games between Cincinnati or Miami with Pitt or Case, since that's the furthest drive in our region. So it kind of killed two birds with one stone. But for the most part, we do prefer to just try to have one match day, have everybody plays two games. That's enough, for a 3 hour drive.
yeah,
So
yeah. And that's a question of like how many games is the right amount of games in a
yeah,
weekend. If you're doing a weekend tournament, you're kind of forcing yourself into 4 or 5 games.
Yeah, I'd say five is usually the
Yeah,
normal, for a weekend.
yeah,
I think 2 games a day is the max where you want to play before you start getting, lower quality play. Obviously big dogfight kind of matches, you really just want one, because you want,
yeah.
the other thing is a lot of these teams don't think about a proper warm up,
Yeah, it's if you look at college basketball as a comparison, probably some of the youngest, best shaped athletes in the world, and they don't play. There's only a couple conferences that play back-to-back games, like on a Friday, Saturday as a cost-cutting measure.
yeah,
NCAA tournament, they have day rest between their matches, um, and then a week off,
yeah,
as they
yeah,
continue. How did we get here? All right, and the reason I pulled up this Wikipedia page on the urban
yeah,
areas. We're running out of time because we have another topic we want to introduce
yeah.
here. But real quick, you see the correlation on these metro areas. We got New York. Yep, we got a team there.
Yep, yep,
LA, we got two teams there now. There's
yep,
actually a bigger area if you depending on how you split it up. Chicago,
yep,
Miami, we got two teams, right?
yep.
Houston,
Houston's been around. I'll count them as semi still existing.
yeah, Dallas,
Yep,
uh, Philadelphia
A
kind of
confusing
comes and
situation
goes.
there. Yeah.
All right, but the decent size. DC,
DC,
I helped start that club. I'm sure the Georgia team is from Atlanta. Oop, went too
they
high.
show up every now and then. So, there's
Um,
still bodies there.
Boston,
Yep.
long-standing club. Phoenix, probably enough maybe to start a club there now. But
There's not yeah, they got a lot of excuses, but there's
yeah,
really no excuse not to have a team there.
well, when you got your best player, best resident
Playing
playing
for
for other
Denver.
clubs,
Yeah.
playing for Denver, playing for San Francisco,
Yep.
that makes a difference. Detroit, when Joey started his club, I kind of did some analysis. That's where I first did this, and I go, well, it's kind of got a good metro area there, got a good
Yep.
Arab-sized population. Well, anyway, I guess you go down this list, and we can continue this discussion there.
I mean, just look
Typically, what
where
happens?
there's what, maybe three out of that list, out of the top 25 that don't have a team? Maybe
It's a
four.
very strong correlation,
Yeah.
and basically what it boils down to is there's enough expats to form a club.
Yep.
And if you're doing weekend tournaments, the only people that are going to go fly across the country are people that really love the game, mostly expats. A few guys like me back in the day, and but we'll hold this thought and we'll continue
Yeah.
more. We got a funner thing to talk about, and so
We'll
I'll
have to come up
play.
with a good title for this segment as we bring it
I
week to
agree,
week.
but JT did an outstanding job with the Barstool folks. I mean, all the questions he really did a great job. But there were a couple of occasions where I just said,
It's
"What?"
just yeah.
So here's one of them.
Uh, I can't hear the audio, so
Uh,
hopefully I'm not sure if it's playing through the recording.
yeah, well, we'll put the link to it. Tell me
But
when PFC commenter.
here's what happened.
All right,
PFT, he was saying, okay, look at these guys pass the ball, man. If only you had somebody like Jokic out here, like he'd probably be a good handball player. And I said, on the court with these guys, absolutely. I did not make that clarification that that's where my mind was at. In the scheme of Jokic being at an elite handball level, probably not, but he'd probably be playing pivot because of his size, I would think. He doesn't really have the jumping, level to play a backcourt or a wing. He might even be a goalie for Pete's sake. So, but yeah, I think pivot wise, it's one of those things that he just moves in slow motion. I think it's probably his biggest downside. But in America, if he were playing, he could probably just shoot over top of a lot of the guys he'd be going against. So
yeah. So
that
I
was my
pulled up a
stance.
I pulled up a highlight reel of the nice. What do they call this in political circles? Walking back. JD has
Yeah,
walked back his
way
comments
back, way back.
way back. So anyway, and this is just a YouTube video of Jokic doing Jokic things, and I've watched him play a lot. Don't get me wrong, he is one hell of a basketball player. Um, and I like to say that there's a 70% correlation. With you take 70% of basketball players and turn them into good handball players, and vice versa. And he is a super intelligent player. He's more athletic than people think, but he's it's just not a handball body.
Right.
And that's what I was saying. Well, what position you can have him play? And
Yep. Yep.
it's pretty much I don't the closest player, the closest player elite level.
I'd say Christopons is what,
Exactly.
it's
And Chris
that's the
Stepans
movement.
is he's kind of a slow rolling guy, but I think
Yep.
he actually moves a little bit better than Jokic, maybe. It's kind of a wash. So that would be
He's probably
about the
stronger
best.
too, I think. But yeah.
Well, and here's this: Jokic would have worked hard to change his body to do it because with his size and his bulk, he's so methodical. You know, every almost all the players in the NBA that we think would be great handball players, they are super quick, jumping out of the gym type guys, and he is not that. He he he
Correct.
he finds his spot. He assesses the situation. Well, this guy's guarding me. He can't stop me. If he gets
Yep.
double teamed, he's like, oh, I'll just do one of these passes to
It's
somebody that's
wide
wide
open
open.
guy. Yep.
It, and the other question I was going to ask you is like, oh, where would you put him on defense?
I mean, it's the other. I was
What's
just
he going to
thinking when
do
you're
when
talking
Luke
about the
Steins is
passes.
coming at him?
Yeah, he's gonna clothesline the crap out of him. He's just gonna stick an arm out and get a 2 minute, because he's not gonna move and just sticks his arm out. But I was thinking, just watching obviously these passes and things like that. Playmaker, just from facilitating the offense isn't totally crazy. But I'd also his hand size. I'm sure that ball, handball would fit very nicely in there. But yeah, defense. I don't know if I've never seen him really play defense because he plays post. I'd assume defense. I don't watch a ton of
He's
NBA,
again,
but
he's better than people give him credit for. He puts himself in the right spot, and if he gets out on the perimeter, he's kind of in a bad situation.
yeah.
But he generally plays somebody that can't play on the perimeter.
But a 7 footer, he's going to take up a lot of space and it just be an intimidating factor. But to your point, as soon as he's got to play ISO with an agile guy, that's going to be an interesting matchup.
And you have to do that. That's why you don't see too many 7 foot handball players. It's
Yeah,
it's there's no equivalent park in the middle defense in handball. You have to be more mobile, or you're gonna get uh,
that's like we
taken
have a
advantage of.
guy that's on our team that's 6'8", and he's not the fastest guy on his feet. I mean, he's 6'8", but it's one of those things that's like trying to find the right spot for him on defense to be able to utilize his size to help us out, but also be quick enough to stop, because so much of the college level is just one-on-one play. So it's tough
Yeah,
for him.
and a lot of it depends, and I've talked about how I was much better 6-0 defender than I was 3-2-1, and it was just that couple feet on either side that I had to, I didn't have my buddy
You, you're
right
right. You,
next
you
to me.
got
I
to
had a little bit more
support
space.
supporting cast. So
It was just that made the difference for me in terms of what I could do defensively. And hey, maybe about the only thing I could do better than Jokic is play
just play handball
handball
defense.
defense. Maybe, because like I said, he's a pretty smart guy, better athlete than what people think. He'd figure out some way to be good, but he would never would have been a star. And people would be asking him, why the hell don't you play basketball?
Yep.
Anyway,
Yep.
well, JD,
Yeah.
it was nice chat. We got a minute left. Um, any quick thoughts?
No, we just got to come up with a cool name for that segment, as we'll try every week to touch upon somebody's hot take with an
If you
athlete.
have somebody you think that would be great, send them our
We'll
way. Give us some
analyze it.
clips. You could even,
Yep.
do a short video of why you think he's great, and then we'll tear it apart.
Yep.
All right.
Cool.
For JD Orr, this is John Ryan, and thanks for listening.